Hello and welcome to Inside the Americas. Coming up on the show, US President Donald Trump calls on Congress to choose greatness over vengeance. We'll be taking a look at the highlights from his first State of the Union address to a divided capital. Plus, we'll be heading to the Colombian border city of Cúcuta. It's a crucial transit point for US aid shipments reportedly headed for crisis-hit Venezuela. But whether or not the aid will make it over to the Venezuelan side is another matter. And a Jurassic Walk of Fame will head to a Bolivian park with the largest concentration of dinosaur footsteps in the world. Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un will be meeting for a second summit at the end of the month. That's one of the key takeaway announcements from the US president's second State of the Union speech before Congress. With another government funding deadline now looming, the president attempted to strike a bipartisan tone, while simultaneously offering little in the way of compromise himself. Alison Sargent takes a look.
It was Donald Trump's first State of the Union before a divided Congress. And with signs of opposition visible around him, from Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to the Democratic lawmakers wearing white as a symbol of women's suffrage, the president started off with an appeal for unity.
We must choose between greatness or gridlock, results or resistance, vision or vengeance, incredible progress or pointless destruction. Tonight, I ask you to choose greatness.
In his hour and 22-minute speech, the president touched on subjects with bipartisan appeal, like a new criminal justice law and calls to end childhood cancer and eradicate AIDS. But Trump doubled down on the issue that led to the nation's longest ever government shutdown, immigration, which he insists is an urgent national crisis.
In the past, most of the people in this room voted for a wall, but the proper wall never got built. I will get it built.
Trump also railed against what he called ridiculous partisan investigations, which he warned would ruin the U.S. economy. In his words, the hottest economy anywhere in the world. One comment did draw enthusiasm from Democrats when the president saluted the number of women in the workforce. Democratic women who won seats in last year's midterm elections gave themselves a standing ovation.
You weren't supposed to do that.
The president will need to keep a unifying tone with Democrats in the next 2 weeks if he wants to strike a deal and avoid another shutdown. The deadline for government funding is on February 15th.
The city of Cúcuta, the busiest border crossing between Venezuela and Colombia, will be a decisive location for the Venezuelan opposition's attempt to assume power. The US has reportedly begun sending aid to the Colombian city at the request of self-proclaimed interim President Juan Guaido. President Nicolas Maduro warning that any humanitarian aid shipment should be seen as a precursor to a US-led invasion. It's a hot topic that increasingly divides Venezuelans.
Daniela suffers from cerebral palsy. The chronic shortage and high prices of medicine in Venezuela has particularly affected the Toledo family. Their daughter's monthly treatment costs $160, far above their salary of $10 per month. Nestor has just one wish, that his daughter can access the medication she needs, which often arrives thanks to international aid.
We would like for the humanitarian aid to be allowed into Venezuela. It would help us economically, and it would also help us as a family. Her mother and I are suffering. We feel guilty about not being able to help our daughter.
Guñares Urbina is the director of the Pediatrics Association of Venezuela. He has repeatedly warned the government of the medical crisis facing children in the country.
We continue to call on the government to act out of goodwill. It must recognize that the country's medical situation is dire and that Venezuelans urgently need this humanitarian aid.
In spite of increasing pressure from the medical community, President Nicolas Maduro's government has turned a deaf ear, saying that Venezuela doesn't need foreign governments to provide for its needs. An opinion shared by some medical workers in this health clinic, overseen by Cuban doctors.
We don't need this aid. We're not at war. There's no humanitarian catastrophe, and those who are calling for aid are just throwing tantrums. We don't want humanitarian aid.
Maduro supporters say U.S. sanctions are to blame for the shortage of medical supplies, with some claiming that Washington's aid shipments could be a potential precursor to military intervention.
I think that the opposition should stop lying. They should stop demanding this aid, which is just another means of intervening in our affairs.
The question of humanitarian shipments has divided Venezuelans. But for Daniela's parents, partisan debate matters little in the face of their daughter's urgent medical needs.
To El Salvador now, where a political outsider has swept to victory in the country's presidential elections. Nayib Bukele, the 37-year-old former mayor of the country's capital, won 54% of the vote, more than his two rivals put together. His victory has put an end to the two-party system that has dominated the country's politics for almost 30 years. Andrew Hillier has the story.
He was the underdog, but in the end, he swept to victory in a landslide, putting an end to nearly 3 decades of two-party dominance. Nayib Bukele was elected as president of El Salvador after winning more votes than his two closest rivals combined.
At this time, we can announce with full certainty that we won the presidency of the Republic.
At only 37 years old, Bukele is a relative newcomer to the political scene. The grandson of Palestinian immigrants who moved to El Salvador, he was elected mayor of the capital, San Salvador, in 2015, the highest office he's held up to now. Running as an outsider, he made his attacks on corruption the centerpiece of his campaign, breaking the two-party system. His election has been welcomed by voters desperate for real change.
His victory is good since the other two parties already had their chance and they couldn't do anything. They didn't deliver what they promised.
We just hope that it will be a change for the better, because we need progress here in El Salvador. We've been trying for so long.
Bukele was once a member of the ruling left-wing FMLN, but was expelled in 2017 for outspokenly criticizing it. He later joined forces with a small right-wing party known as GANA. Once he takes office in June, Bukele will set about delivering on his promises, including reviving a sluggish economy and tackling rampant poverty and corruption. But his biggest challenge may be eradicating gang violence in a country with the highest murder rate in the world.
Next, a well-armoured dinosaur discovery in Argentine Patagonia. Scientists have unveiled a previously unknown species that lived 140 million years ago. Its most notable feature, a spiny backbone, which was used to fend off predators. It was found in the same zone as the largest carnivorous dinosaur of all time, discovered back in 1993. But Patagonia isn't the only place with a rich Jurassic history. In Bolivia, dinosaur remains draw tourists from across the globe. A stone's throw from the city of Sucre, a cliffside features the largest concentration of dinosaur footsteps in the world. 12,092 to be precise. Catherine Viette takes a look.
In the heart of Bolivia, a cliff face with thousands of footprints, recording over 15 different types of dinosaur tracks, including titanosaurs, ceratops, and Tyrannosaurus rex.
So guys, this guided tour and the footprint tour are going to be like a journey to the past, back across 68 million years, to a long time before man. Welcome, follow me please.
Tourists pay just €4 to enter a real-life version of Jurassic Park.
I've never seen dinosaur prints before. So yeah, just unreal.
The Cal Orco cliff face is 2 kilometers long and 110 meters high. Visitors can get a close look at the dinosaur footprints left 68 million years ago. Paleontologists believe the wall was once the shoreline of a lake.
Okay guys, please do not think the dinosaurs were able to walk up or walk down the wall. It doesn't make any sense for scientists. Dinosaurs were not spiders. This place was flat. This place was a lake 60 million years ago. And all the cliff, all the big wall represented the shore of this lake.
As the Earth's tectonic plate shifted, that flat area was pushed upwards, forming the cliff face. This unique site was discovered by accident in the 1990s when concrete manufacturing company Fancesa mined away the top layers. Mother Nature did the rest, revealing over 12,000 perfectly preserved dinosaur footprints. The fossils are the star attraction of Parque Cretácico, or Cretaceous Park, which also includes over 24 life-size sculptures of many of the park's original inhabitants. But concerns over continued erosion have led park officials to seek UNESCO World Heritage Site recognition for funding to help carry out much-needed conservation work.
Finally, a mystery that's been flummoxing Canadians. Take a look. It's the shape of a bear etched out in the snow. It's the belly button that's been causing consternation, with people baffled as to how it got there. Some suggesting it was created by a drone, others that it was created using an object suspended on a stick. But after some careful investigation, a journalist did crack this one, confirming that the belly button was made using, you guessed it, rather expertly aimed snowballs. That brings us to the end of this edition of Inside the Americas. Thank you very much for watching, and see you again next week.
From North to South Africa, from Bamako to Nairobi, from Accra to Mogadishu. Bringing you all the political, economic, cultural and social news from Africa for a better insight into an ever-changing continent.
Across Africa, presented by Georgia Calvin-Smith on France 24 and France24.com.